let's have a quick conversation about a couple other Canadian teams, similar to what we did on one of our last podcasts. The Vancouver Canucks and Montreal Canadiens. Both of these teams, in their own ways, suck right now. The Montreal Canadiens, we've gone over this before. After making it to the Stanley Cup final last season, this year has been an absolute train wreck. They are currently, based on points percentage, 29th in the NHL. They have a minus 26 goal differential. They have 5 wins in 20 games. The Vancouver Canucks, a little bit ahead of them, Lepore. They are, where are they? They are the 5th worst team in terms of points percentage. So, sorry, the Habs are 30th, and the Canucks are 28th in points percentage. They have 6 wins in 19 games with a minus 16 goal differential. So I ask you this question, Lepore. Which team would you rather be right now and also in the future, near future, the Montreal Canadiens or the Vancouver Canucks?
Wow. I will say first, though, people who know me well know I'm a BC boy. 2 great places to live. I'll start that. I love the city of Montreal and I love Vancouver. But who would I rather be? That's a good question, Bruno. If I'm being perfectly honest, I think I would rather be the Vancouver Canucks. I really do. And I say that because I look at what's happening in Montreal. And yeah, they're dealing with a lot. Okay. They're dealing with a lot. But I feel like these things they're dealing with could be patched up with things they've tried to reinforce in the past. Like, already now, Montreal Canadiens fans are screaming at me. They're like, oh, we don't have Price and we don't have Weber. First things first, boo fucking who? Because I'm sure all you Habs fans out there would be like really sympathetic towards the Toronto Maple Leafs if things weren't going well in terms of the injury front or personnel front. But right off the bat, I'll say, well, you signed Jake Allen. The whole goal of the Jake Allen signing was that, ease the price on ease the price. Ease the pressure on Carey Price. And yeah, here he is. He's a $4 million goalie and he's not playing well. Shea Weber. I know he means a lot to that team, both on the ice and off. But at the same time, we're not talking about a team here that is, say, maybe 500 or like even a little bit over, and they're not playing well and they're just like missing something. No, this is a bad hockey team right now. This is a bad hockey team, and guys have not been playing well. Like, again, Montreal fans, as you're yelling at me and screaming at me and calling me a crazy Leaf fan, think about the guys in your lineup. I'll ask you this. Who are you happy with? Who in your mind has gone above expectations?
No one. Not a single player on this team.
No one
is playing well right now.
Like, what, Suzuki's on pace for maybe like 50, 60 points. I think he's got 14 points in 20 games or something.
Yep, you nailed it.
Yeah, like you got to see guys man up. Like, Josh Anderson got a big contract. Like, Tyler Toffoli's been okay, and we all love Toffoli. Like, but we all know what happened to Caulfield. On the back end, like, guys stepping up, like Romanov, like, they got to show something, man. And like if I'm a Montreal fan, yeah, I know like there's bad luck. And I'm not saying that Montreal Canadiens fans should be upset because their team's not in a playoff spot. I think they should be upset at the lack, something's missing with regard to just certain players playing to their potential, or in an opportunity like this, stepping up and being the guy. And when you're facing hard times, that's when you want to see that. And that's when you have to see that. And not only is it like, okay, things just quite aren't going their way and we'll see if they can hang on. No, they're bad. Like, they had a big win the other day. I say big win. They had a win the other night. They put up a 6 spot on Nashville. But it's looking like, I'll ask you, Bruno, is Montreal season over?
Oh, it's done.
Okay,
there's no chance this team is making the playoffs. And another thing with the Habs, Lepore, they're not a young team.
That's it too.
Like, yeah. I know they got Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield, and that's the future. And they're obviously, 2 very good young players. I mean, they're not playing like it this year, But the rest of their team, Tyler Toffoli, not young. Josh Anderson, also not young. Same with Brendan Gallagher and Jonathan Drouin and Christian Dvorak. Like these guys have been in the league now.
Petrie on the back end, who, by the way, I don't even know this. Petrie's got 0 goals, 2 assists.
He's been awful
in 20 games, man.
And that's Jeff horrid. Petrie, who, going back to when he first joined Montreal and was kind of a late bloomer, like he was a guy who early in his career wasn't great, but with the Montreal Canadiens, he turned into one of the better all-around defensemen in the league, one of the better offensive defensemen in the league, and he's been terrible this season. Yeah. 0 goals and 2 assists in 20 games. And even going like through the rest of their blue line, like David Savard, another guy who's obviously not young. Same with Ben Sherratt. Like, so it's not like this team is rebuilding right now. This is just a bad team with bad players.
Something I'll point out, and again, we mentioned the 2 biggest things are Price and Weber, like 2 huge important pieces to this team, but that's a goalie and that's a defenseman. The Montreal Canadiens only have 2 players right now, Suzuki and Toffoli, who are averaging more than half a point a game. You can't have that. That's not good. And to that point, Toffoli's got 12 points in 20. So yeah,
he's completely come back down to earth after his goal scoring. He was amazing last year. I mean, you can look at the stats last year for Tyler Toffoli, 28 goals in 52 games. Like he was essentially scoring at like a 40-goal pace last year. So he's completely come back down to what he's been throughout his entire career, right? He's been like a 20, 25 goal scorer. I think he's got 1 30-goal season. But this team right now is just struggling across the board. And when you look at the Vancouver Canucks, I still have this hope that if they fire the GM, Jim Benning, maybe even if they bring in a new coach, because I know Canucks fans have had it with Travis Green.
Funny, how like 2 years ago he was the man. Everyone loved. He's like the hot property in the NHL, Travis Green.
I know, crazy how quickly things change. But with that team, you still feel like there's hope that things could change and could change quickly if you bring in a new voice, if you bring in a new general manager, because you look at that team, like they have more talent than the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah.
I don't think you can dispute that at all.
So how I was going to put it, like, and I do this when I'm comparing teams, if both teams were to blow it up, who would get more return? The Canucks would get way more return.
Yeah, the Canucks all day long.
Yeah.
And the Canucks have a problem. Like, we talked about how Nick Suzuki and a lot of the offensive players on the Habs aren't playing well. Elias Pettersson's been bad this year. And I'm mad because I have him in multiple fantasy hockey leagues. Nice. And he's got 3 goals and 10 points in 19 games.
Oof.
This is a guy who's been a point per game player in his career, who at one point, like, how Sportsnet or even TSN would make those lists of like the top 5 centers or the top 5 centers on Canadian teams or top 5 centers in the Canadian division going back to last season. All of them had Elias Pettersson, like top 3, with McDavid and Matthews and Draisaitl. And then there's Elias Pettersson. But right now, Elias Pettersson, my goodness, just signed a 3-year, $22 million contract, and he has not been good. He has completely lost his confidence. So they have some issues. Bo Horvat, 10 points in 19 games. Their best player this year has been JT Miller, who's at a point per game. Other than that, it's been a complete letdown for this Canucks team. But saying all that, Lepore, like we said, I think we're both on the same page that we would rather be the Vancouver Canucks, not only right now, but also, let's say, in the next 2 to 3 years.
One point I'll make about Montreal Canadiens fans pointing to the Carey Price thing as well. That's a goalie you tried to give away to Seattle, and they didn't want him. We'll just end with that.
I love it.